It's a complete act, so okay, cool. I am an author, a small publisher. I inject people with radioactive stuff as my day job, but only to certain forces of good. I also rent virtual apartments to real people for real money, successfully, which still surprises me. I play paladins. I play paladins because that's what when I play role-playing games, and this is kind of a key thing towards my approach as far as publishing.
Heal your own damage?
Heal my own damage, and then you wrongdoers, ha! I do that a lot. I'll try to rein in the ranting somewhat. Anyway. Yeah, follow that. I invent people with radioactive stuff, but that's the boring part. Ha!
I order the radioactive stuff you inject them with. I also have the devices and that horrible book you had to pass in college, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, the Kennedy-Kissenbaum Act, by A.F. Gilbreth and C.R. Dinkins. Yeah. I'm A.F. Gilbreth.
Awesome!
I want you to know your education. I'm driving a nice truck because of
Except they're only paid for months.
That's all. Well, I don't care whose money it was. That's all right.
So it's actually your money.
Yeah, well, it's my money now. So, actually, my name is Alan Gilbreth. I did actually write that horrible book, by the way. I also write the Galen Vampire series, and where he says, "Ha-ha, wrongdoers," I go, "Come here, children." I'm a principal at Curlike Publishing, which is probably why I'm on this panel.
Okay, I'm T. Lee Harris. I write for myself. I am also a member of the Southern Indiana Writers, and I am the person guilty of putting together the anthologies that we do every year. Selection of those
Drink,
up there.
don't you?
Only at times.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when the poets send me files that are in a format that I can't read on anything.
Yeah. I love those words, Microsoft Works.
Yeah, oh,
yeah.
bingo, yeah. But, I'm basically, I've been messing around with the e-format, and we've learned things the hard way, and then we cheated and got Stephen's book. So
So what got for you?
It had some real helpful stuff in it.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Generally glad to hear it.
Okay.
I'm Janet Harriet. I'm a full-time professional freelance editor. As far as what I'm doing on this panel, if you want to have your book, the ebook, you want someone like me. And number two, I also am an avid reader of ebooks. I've actually converted to almost exclusively e-reading. And I have nothing to do with radioactivity for my day job except for wanting to occasionally nuke a writer.
Fair enough.
I'm C.S. Marks. I write epic fantasy, probably best known for the Elfheimer trilogy. I'm on this panel probably because I am officially a dinosaur, having grown up in the age where there were no computers, much less ebooks, and I have slowly, painfully converted to the idea of electronic publishing, and what I did managed to sell, gosh, at least at last count about 50,000 ebooks, which for an indie is not too shabby. And we have done really, really well with them, and now understand the appeal of them, and that's probably why I'm on this panel.
Ariana Gaynor. I'm the editorial director at Secret Credence Publishing. I've dealt with ebooks since 2005.
No radioactivity there.
No. A lot of joking, though.
No.
Especially after a big edit.
I was expecting one of you to say that you're secretly Spider-Man, well as radioactive.
No.
Why would you say that you were secretly Spider-Man?
Yeah, I mean, that's much more the whole. By the way, I'm Tony Stark, and I'm Iron Man. That would
And I
be
have
much
so much money, I can get away with saying
that. Yes. Government, but no. By the way, so that I can help rein myself in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and point you towards my blog. This is not just simply shameless self-promotion. I talk about this stuff a lot. Ideatrash.net. And so you can agree with me, disagree with me, whatever, but information is power, and that'll help me curb myself so I don't repeat stuff that I already have up there. Also, while I do some of this stuff for business, I do ebook conversions for business. I also answer questions for free. I don't care if you're a customer or not, because I am an author first. And so let me just throw that out there so that way I don't. And by the way, there's this other, I can help rein that impulse of mine in. So I can get them out of the way and so I'm not blocking you so much. One of the things that turned me on to ebooks, because I came not too late. I mean, I saw Cory Doctorow back in 2001, and I read the stuff on a Palm, and it was okay. But things changed very rapidly even from then. I mean, then he was like, "Oh, who's going to print? Who's going to print this out and read it on the beach?" Somebody might, but not that many people. Well, that model is no longer really relevant. But some things that have happened, for example, this is Hungry for Your Love. It's a zombie an anthology, a zombie romance. I have a story in it. It was originally published by a small e-publisher, a romance imprint. They paid me $10 for it, and then St. Martin Griffin picked it up and printed it, and then I got a hell of a lot more money for it. So that was nice. It was a good thing. But it basically was they wouldn't have bought it, and done it on their own, except it had already sold very well as an ebook. This is one that I've published, and the reason I bring this one, the ebook of this is $5. $5. This is a 515-page book. This is the proof copy, by the way. This is the only print one in existence. For me to give the same amount of money to the authors, I'm going to have to price this at least $18. I'm using CreateSpace, that I know they're not the cheapest in town, but I mean they're not bad. And it was my first foray into doing print stuff.
Better than Lulu.
Really?
Yes.
I did not.
Lulu will kill you.
I've heard people. I had just heard enough people recommend CreateSpace. But anyway, point being, $18 to give this. Okay, but still, to give the same profits to the authors, that's how much I have to price this at in order to keep things at the same round. So I mean, that's one way that when we look at the prices of ebooks and how much profitability there is from them, that makes a huge difference as far as how much you keep, even if you're going through a publisher, as opposed to doing it indie. I just realized I was kind of going towards an indie bias there. So. Well, I was just at a panel where I've got her card here somewhere.
Deborah Dixon from Bell Ridge.
Don't do drugs, kids. Okay, anyway, so but she did a really good job of justifying her publisher's existence. I mean, she said this is how much we give, and this is the percentages we give, and these are the services that we do to earn that. Whether or not you think it's worth it for you is a totally different story. But she did a much better job than I've ever heard a publisher do before, is to say, this is what we do, this is why we do it, this is why you should bother giving us your money, this cut of the percentage, rather than, we have an office in New York, we're a publisher.
Yeah.
So, anyway, see, I told you, I freaking ran! Please, just ran.
Well, maybe we should ask the group,
Yeah.
because this is about
Good
how
point.
everything you want to know
Yeah.
about ebooks. What would you like to know about them?
There we go.
I know nothing, to be
Would
honest.
y'all like a quick history of them?
I'd like to see how they started and where they are today.
Let's go back in time, back to the dark ages of publishing, 1996. Okay, just to point out how long I've been in publishing, I first got published in 1968. I've been around a long time, so I love the word dinosaur. I'm like,
He was
yes!
great.
I think I reached theropod status on that one.
So, man, correct?
Okay. Somewhere in the mid-90s, a delightful gentleman somewhere in the neighborhood of Laverne, Tennessee, began playing with HP presses and discovered that barcode readers via FedEx were extremely good at making things match. So what began was a process of tying together various technologies. What originally showed up was something called POD. Now, POD was basically Kinko's copiers and a cover copier, and they would tie them together so that the book came out this end and the cover came out this end roughly at the same time. Somebody picked them up, stapled them together. It looks like it came from Kinko's, and that is what everybody perceived as POD, print on demand. Shortly thereafter, HP caught on that people were playing with their stuff doing this, and a couple of other copier companies caught on, and they went, we can do this without toner. We can do this with soy ink, we can do this with acid-free paper, we can do this with anything you want to load in the machine. Now, in going into 2012, is basically where we are in the publishing business, of a quick word of warning. Almost nothing that you see in a bookstore is not POD. Almost nothing that you see in a bookstore did not come off of a digital press. That book right there, that was CreateSpace.
Yeah.
CreateSpace.
Yeah.
That is a 4-color process, CYMK, no curl cover, lightweight cardstock. There are a couple of other companies that will do a little heavier cardstock, but generally that is a good quality book, and it's as good as any other publisher is going to put out. I recently picked up a copy of Eric Warren at Barnes & Noble for $9.99. Has anybody picked up a $9.99 hardcover? It weighs about 4 ounces. This book is going to last about 2 years. It's a terrible copy. It's a mass-produced. They print them in China. So in '96, the snobbery was, were you coming off an offset press? Whoa, we're doing a print run of 5,000 books. At this time, the PDF became God. The little permanent document format, the PDF, and the PDF is now really Lord God of all books. Nobody does a book from paper anymore. Nobody does a book from plates anymore. I can't think of anybody. I'm looking at y'all on anybody think. Everything is done through a very specialized, very few formats of a PDF. Your early books, your early eBooks were some variation of a PDF. And here's your problem. You just gave away your intellectual rights. Because now any 12-year-old in Pakistan with a computer and a bulletin board just shared your novel with 80,000 of his closest friends. And that was the first stroke of the key. All right. Now, with the gas prices and the economic downturn in the last 4 years, you are seeing a dramatic surge in the technologies. I mean, you guys seen these things lately? 18 months ago, I got a chance to see the iBook store before it opened. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, and I will confess, I am an uber computer geek, and I have been absolutely, utterly against eBooks since their inception. Because there's no way to safeguard it. If you gave me your ebook, within a few seconds, I could disseminate it to absolutely millions of people.
Sure.
Your book is gone.
I know.
Why buy it? However, nobody now wants to ship books. They're expensive to ship, they're expensive to print, they're expensive to go. So Amazon, foreseeing this, being in the logistics business, began the process of the Kindle. Apple went, well, me too. Barnes & Noble went, well, what about us? And other technology companies, Microsoft, Sony, and others, have all now joined this fracas. And Bain Publishing was one of the early players in the market, and Jim Bain, before his death, absolutely thoroughly believed that books were like basically drugs near a schoolyard. You keep handing out enough, somebody's going to want to buy that next one. If you got an old backlist or you got an old book or something, you know what? Get it out to as many people as you can. If 8 million people read your book, they're going to buy your next one. A little format war. And if you know how to write an EPUB right the first time, there's no format war.
Exactly.
There's a little bit of a format war, and my question to everybody in the room would be, how many of you now have some form of ebook reader? Wow.
What do you have for the PC?
Yeah, it's an
They have
app.
a smart
You have an
phone.
app or phone.
Yeah.
They in 18 months have become completely ubiquitous.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, the small format wars. I've heard some really bizarre people say, "Oh, and there's the Nook format and the iBook store format." And it's like, no, there's not. There's PDF, which is the laid out on a screen. I actually don't call that ebooks because
It's not an ebook.
Because it's not an ebook. Because
That is your book.
right. Because the line breaks are where they're at. You resize it, it zooms. Okay, as opposed to EPUB. Which is what Nook and iBookstore and Google's and basically everybody except for Kindle uses. And then there's the whatever you want to call it. Kindle format's probably the easiest to go with. If you really Mobi, you'll hear it called Mobi AZW. It's the Kindle format. As he said, if you've got a rock solid EPUB, because again, I get paid to do this.
If you've ever hacked a Mobi and you know the 4 lines of code that are different between the Mobi format and the EPUB format, the EPUB format will overlook them. They can't read it. It'll just skip over it. You'll never see it on the Nook, so you can write one. Yeah. There's about 4 lines of code that make it the Mobi.
Really?
And the EPUB cannot read it, thus as an HTML program will completely ignore it and walk right by it.
Or if Scrivener's your word processor, you can compile to Mobi, then compile to EPUB.
Well,
See,
now-
what I've done is I've made EPUBs from scratch and then I converted it into Mobi and it works fine.
And that's basically what I was doing too.
Yeah.
And it produces a nice, good-looking product. And the thing to remember, an ebook is not a book. It's a computer program. It's designed to give you a book experience.
Yeah.
It is not a book. And a lot of people, sadly, I saw a figure yesterday on ePublishing that horrified me. There is one guy that has, in the last 12 months, published 3,600 books on Kindle. One guy in his name. He's running fact scrubbers across the internet. He's compiling them into 300-page books and slamming them out for $1.99 a piece on Kindle. One guy has published 3,600 books in 12 months.
How much did he make from it, or did it say?
It didn't say how much he made. It just said that, this was, and I was kind of like going, great, like we didn't have enough crap out of self-publishing, now we're going to get, And I'm sorry, that will be my, self-publishing I separate from indie. Indie publishing means you know what you're doing. Self-publishing, or at least you have some idea. There's some quality control somewhere. Self-publishing means you met me at a conference, you got PO'd, and you gave Publish America $500, and your mother bought 2 copies. Indie means you're 2 minutes from being an official real publisher, just like somebody in New York. You've already done all the work.
And thoughts, comments? Speak up. Okay, right. We already had formats. We had some basic history. The stuff's everywhere. I'm assuming you all are writer types, right? Yes. No. Anybody not fit that category? Are you reader curious? Writer curious?
I'm moral support to one of the panelists.
That's good, because writers have very few morals, and the one thing I left me as much shoring up as possible.
And very few companions.
Yeah.
Are you willing to support the few morals from other people too? Because I can loan you mine for a while.
I can spell it.
Well, I guess then we can probably jump right into, since we mentioned morals, where I do paladin-y stuff is because there's also, just like you mentioned, what's essentially a scam, as far as I'm concerned. Because again,
I will give them this. They're honest in the fact they tell you up front what they're selling you.
Yeah, but it smells fishy, so that's
All right,
good enough for me.
it's the fact that it's in a wrapper that makes you believe it's something else.
Yeah.
And the
Exactly.
trouble is you want to believe it.
Well, yeah.
Their publishing services are there to sell you a publishing service. They're there to get your $2.99, and they will give you exactly what they promised. And unfortunately, aspiring writers think that means they just make something like all of these lovely people on this
Right.
panel do, and they don't.
Right, and actually, because that's one of the things I do. Like, I'll do an ebook conversion. I'm not going to edit it. And look, I mean, if you want me to find an editor for you and pay an editor, I'll do it for you. Sure, I'll take your money. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you up front, I'm going to take your money, but you don't have to do this. That's why I actually wrote up a thing on how to make an EPUB from scratch, because I realized that I'm pricey because I need money for my life. So if I'm going to spend time going through and converting this, then damn it, I deserve the money. If you want to spend the time doing it, I don't deserve the money for that. I deserve the money for telling you how to do it. But it's a $10 book as opposed to average $175, $200 for a novel. That's what I charge. The $20 ebook conversions, you get what you pay for. The conversion programs, I believe you get what you pay for. I tend to be a perfectionist. That's my shtick. I've met plenty of people who are like, oh, we did this and it worked. great, that's fine. But there's, know what you're paying for. I guess that's where I was going with it. When I do an ebook conversion, for example, I name drop and I don't mean to, it's just that I had these conversations with these people, so please don't think I'm being some kind of pretentious ass, okay? I was having a conversation with Mike Stackley, he's office hours in Second Life. And so we were all having this conversation, talking about ebook conversion. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. And he says, you know, you got to make sure that they'll do like 3 corrections for you, at least 3 to 5 corrections for you. And I'm typing, well, what the hell are you talking about, Mike? I do lifetime warranties, because that's, I mean, really, it's a small change. I mean, I worked with Arundel Publishing, just did 3 of their books. I worked with them back and forth on them for a month, because, oh, well, we need to fix this a little bit here. Okay, can we make this look a little bit better? Sure. But he's right. But at that point, I don't see, you know, no matter how many they sell, my job is done. They paid me for my job. Okay, I'm not the publisher. I don't get a percentage. If I do something that I get a percentage for, like I also will do distribution to the iBook store, mostly because I got horrified that one place charges $99 a year and it's one of the preferred distribution partners. That horrified me. So yeah, I take a couple percent. Why? Because I'm doing the math and sending you checks. That's how I justify. I should be able to justify it. Any of these services should tell you exactly what they're doing, and it should be worth it. That said, you know, what's worth it to you might be not worth it to another person. I'm putting out Don Bingle's new novel. It's coming out August 1st. You can already buy it from my site. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's actually a really good spy thriller. Don's a good writer. He has the technical know-how to do all this stuff on his own. But he said, you know what, Steve? I've got money and I don't got time. You've got the know. I don't have the time to learn how to do this. I know you. Here you go. You know, make this do. Because he knew what he was getting into, he made an informed choice. I like credit unions. Some people like banks. Some people, you know, I don't. Do any of you deduct meals? Do you deduct meals on your taxes for these things? Like, I'll deduct the hotel. I'm going to deduct my hotel for coming in. I'm going to deduct I'm going to deduct the hotel, and I'm going to deduct the mileage. I don't deduct meals. Why? Because it's harder for me to justify, and I'm scared of audits. It is worth me not deducting that $5 to $10 meal to be able to say, here is my hotel receipt, here is my mileage to the convention that I can prove I was at. What's the problem here? You know, as opposed to, well, was this a business lunch or something? It scares me. I don't want to deal with it. You know, some other people, I know people who think I'm an idiot for not deducting. That's fine, but I made that choice on purpose. All right, I'm ranting again. Damn it! I try not. I really do try.
Okay, most difficult ebook project we worked on the ebook project. I'll throw out a question.
Oh, good idea.
Oh, they're not here? Tell on them.
When I've had a few submissions come in where the writer will expect the editor to fix their book. No, that's your book. We're just telling you where something's went astray, where something doesn't work. You have to fix it. Because if you expect us to fix it, then it becomes our work, not yours.
And that applies regardless of format, to an ebook or a print book or whatever.
It affects the right down the line.
Can you think of?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I see them mostly before they become the E part, so it's working with there. But I know we've got a couple of folks we've seen that you keep finding little things where like a specific character didn't transition right and it becomes a chunk of gobbledygook in the middle. Yeah. So even if you have somebody like me who has done your book before the conversion, you want to have that conversion looked at too.
Absolutely.
The hidden liner note can suddenly become text.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said something very similar to that. It's sort of, you've got the thing there, and it's got these weird indents. And you're trying to figure out, where did that come from? Yeah, going into the code and fixing, that's just sort of a pain more than anything else.
With our company, once it's converted, we look it over, plus it goes back to the author for them
Right.
to check every line. Then they okay it, and then we put it out
Yeah.
for the public.
I mean, there's been one or two projects I've turned down because I couldn't, it was a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous book. It had all sorts of pictures and like, here's the sidebar and it needs to be here. And yeah, maybe iBooks, I could get away with it, but not on any other device. So I mean, if you've got a really picture-heavy book, especially one that has very specific layouts. I mean, a textbook, yeah, okay, those sidebars really are sidebars, but I mean, here is the picture and the caption that needs to be next to this paragraph, and I could not figure out a way to make it work across devices. Because even though the format's the same, the way it gets rendered on different devices may be slightly different.
Yeah, and this is a Kindle DX. This is not the same screen size as the regular Kindle, and your book will not look the same on this Kindle as it will on what I assume you're pulling up right now.
Well, and you can also change the font size,
Yep.
which makes your
Yeah, pagination.
very, very,
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I've got this, I like this because it's small.
I had a Sony, I
Yeah.
went to the note, I got a note for my birthday.
Yeah, I like the size. I mean, if they had this one the size for the Nook, I'd rather get that. But anyway, I mean, basically you're
there's that one.
yeah, so here you go. This is the range of the range of sizes that we're talking
And
about.
you need to have your book look good on all of them.
Yeah. So like some little funky tricks, like the first line of the chapter is in bold. Well, except the first line and a half, or maybe half the first line, depending on this font size. Right? It doesn't look nearly
Maybe
as good.
somebody's reading it on a PDA.
Somebody's, yeah. I mean, there's still PDAs.
Or
that
their
can-
phone, or their app, or,
Yeah.
Keep in mind, fonts, special effects, stuff that we can do in print,
Yeah.
cannot do here.
Also, when you're designing your covers for an ebook,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is very different from designing them for a print book. Ebook covers appear as thumbnails on a computer screen. They're little tiny doohickeys about this high. And whereas you might see the full cover on the Amazon page and it might be pretty
Yeah.
big on a print book, most of the time they're going to be tiny. You need to make your name nice and big. The title, avoid these real flowery fonts that turn into blurs when you get
Well,
them
compare these two.
very far
I
away.
mean, this
And-
one is very clearly designed for print. I mean, it looks, when you shrink this down to a 75, thumbnail, it looks horrible. This one is still, you can still recognize it. You may not be able to read the text, but you can still recognize this image. I mean, that's part of the reason why this one was chosen. So yeah, absolutely.
And it does make a difference whether a book was in print first or
Thumbnail.
an ebook. Yeah, I designed, or I put this book out myself as an ebook. So I've got the cover design, and I deliberately looked at it as tiny as I could. Yeah, you can just still tell what that is. These are all conversions of books that were originally print, and they aren't as easy to tell. You've got a lot of times good images, but a lot of times the text isn't going to work.
Actually, the blue square, can you read that? Can you from that distance? I know it's really asking a lot.
Only because I already know what it says.
Oh, okay. That'll be less of the 32.
Publishers now, there are those who are going to ebook only imprints. A lot of writers also are coming out with ebook only publications because it is so inexpensive to publish an ebook. Relative to the investment required in getting a hard copy book in your hand. What I kind of despair about is that it's almost too easy and too inexpensive for people to do it, and therefore they're rushing things into electronic print without taking the time to invest in quality formatting, to invest in editing. Oh my Lord. I mean, even when you're going to self-publish a book in print, you're still going to have to put enough of an investment in that it's going to make you think twice about the quality of what you're putting out there. Because it's not that easy to just go, oh, you know what, I'll fix it and put out another edition. That's very expensive to do in a printed book, not so much in an e-book. But people will judge you by the quality of the first thing of yours that they read. And if what you do is go out with something with, you know, questionable formatting, a cover that looks like your nephew did it, you know, and your nephew's not even very talented, you can't read the title, can't read the author name, the blurb's not, you need to invest every bit as much time into making an ebook as professional as you can possibly make it. And a lot of people I see today are skipping that step.
Yep.
They see successes of people with books that maybe aren't as well edited as they should have been. They come out on Kindle, they hit a target audience, and people buy millions of copies because the subject matter appeals to them. But they never would have made it in the quality arena of a traditional publisher. And then everybody thinks, see, I don't need a stinking editor. So-and-so didn't have a stinking editor. So-and-so's made $1 million. Well, so-and-so is a good storyteller, maybe better than you are, and so-and-so hit a readership, and there you go.
And so-and-so will never do it again, and now it's been done.
Yeah.
Right.
And my favorite one for that is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Seriously. Absolute stroke of genius to be the right person at the right place at the right time with the right topic. And if you are the only game in town on Kindle, you know, for some reason a left-handed Lithuanian ball player gets famous, and now suddenly everybody's looking up left-handed Lithuanian ball players, and you have the only study of Lithuanian ball players on the Kindle, you're probably going to be the one that makes $1 million. 150,000 people that are doing the Me Too.
Right.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. You get, and I always tell people, they go, well, that book's really big. And I go, yes, did you write it? They go, no. And I go, too late.
Yeah.
Sure, Charlene Harris whooped you. You got to get there 10 minutes before she does if you want to be.
And it's not even digital. I mean, digital speeded up the rate of that, but I mean, that happened with print too. I mean, we can point at really crappy print books. Twilight. that happened to hit a nerve.
It's
Okay.
not a crap.
They continue.
It's not, no, it is not a crappy book if you're a teenage little girl.
I know.
It appeals
The
to
that's the thing.
sociologist in me is horrified by that statement. We can discuss that later. The sociologist in me is like, ah.
The rest of me is terrified at the thought of you as a teenage girl.
Well, yeah, I look horrible.
Actually,
petty,
the teenage girl is not the heavy-hitting audience for that.
Yeah.
It's middle-aged women.
Yeah. But I mean,
We nearly started a riot at one over Twilight.
yeah.
And it's just,
But
ooh.
I couldn't get past the first chapter. I mean, I like that kind of genre, actually. I mean, I like the urban fantasy-ish. I couldn't get past the first chapter.
I made it through the first book, but I couldn't.
Yes.
Did
I mean,
anybody read her original? Everybody forgot her original interview when those books came out. The very
Yeah.
first book, the original interview. It's not a vampire book.
Well, see, and maybe that's the whole
It's a
thing.
book about dysfunctional relationships.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Well,
Her
no,
first
yeah.
interview when the book first came out, she went. They were like, "Well, you wrote a vampire book." She went, "No, this book is about dysfunctional relationships because blah 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 blah." And then everybody went, "Oh, they're cute."
Okay.
And she went,
Well-
"You're right. It's vampires. It's yeah."
One may argue.
My point being that it could be better edited. It could be better written.
Oh yeah,
But
they
it was-
ran
but it
that
was
baby
very
out
well-
the
But
door
it was
fast.
well
Yeah.
presented.
But it was well presented.
It was
It hit an
professional
niche.
presentation.
Right.
It had distribution. It, you know.
And it hit.
And it
And it
hit.
hit, but when people say, and I'm a very active participant in a forum called
No.
Kindle
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
If you guys ever publish an ebook, Kindle Boards is a good place to hang out. There are, between something like 10,000 members these days, and they all own Kindles, and they all read ebooks, and there are a lot of authors as well, and you'll get a lot of good advice, a lot of bad advice, and a lot of, stuff you want to strangle people when you read, beat their
And
between your
27,
heads.
and 27 critique my cover posts every,
And oh no, I got a bad review, everybody pity me, sorts of things. But you'll see there's a lot of, bad thinking going on with respect to some others say, but well, if Amanda Hocking did it, yeah, but you're not Amanda Hocking, are you?
Yeah.
You're someone else. And your book has no resemblance whatsoever to what Amanda writes. You write, historical fiction, designed to appeal to middle-aged Civil War buffs. Okay, of both genders. Okay, but
Right.
point being, you're not Amanda Hocking. You're not David Dalglish. You're not J.A. Conrath, Jack Kilborn, same person. You're not, nor are you C.S. Marks. Okay, so the only person that you can compare your success to is you. And you can say, all right, is this quality good enough for me to put my name on it? I don't care what someone else has sold. Okay, I'm going to go out and do the best job I can with my readership, who's going to be different from your readership and everybody else's readership. And I'm going to say, okay, if I am happy with it in print, I'm going to be happy with it in electronic form. The pit that we fall into, I think, is it's so easy, and you see people coming out with a new one every week. Like, publish my grocery list to Kindle and charge 99 cents for it. If I make a cool cover and title, people will buy it.
Well, I don't buy 99 cent ebooks anymore.
Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people buy 99
I
cent
think
ebooks.
I'm here. Some of my some of my coworkers, but they were started out trolling the 99 cent bits, essentially the virtual 99 cent, and I've started hearing that same sentiment from them as well. And so I think we'll start to see that.
Tell me more
Just like
about that. What do you mean?
anything else, you
There's
get what you pay
there
for.
there are some books that are priced on Kindle to be 99 cents.
Yeah.
So
My first one is.
Yeah, and he was saying his first one is
the first one in my series.
Yeah, the first one in his
Right.
series. And in that case, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, the Arendelle Publishing, I mentioned before, they released all three of them within weeks of each other. The first one was 99 cents as a deliberate thing to get people in the door. So some of the people that I work with specifically have said, oh yeah, so I just go through the 99 cent stuff and I'll pick something. And that's what they started off saying. Now I'm starting to hear more, yeah, I picked another one off the 99 cent one and it sucked. Oh yeah, and it was it's starting to frustrate me. I mean, maybe not yours, but
What I was going to say is this is a lot of people riding on what some people call the Amanda Hocking formula of
Right.
pricing the first book in a series at 99 cents. And let's be honest, the reason that those books are priced at 99 cents is because Amazon won't let self-published people make them free.
Right.
A lot of those people would be giving their books away if they were allowed to, but they're not allowed to legitimately
Right.
yet. So they're putting things at 99 cents as a loss leader, hoping that they'll
Right.
drive things to
but that's
the
also where we
later
find-
books in the series,
Well,
which
why wouldn't, if you want to give somebody something for free, and this is something that I've already talked about doing. I write pretty different types of things. I do contemporary and paranormal. The contemporary is way different from my paranormal.
Sure.
I'm going to do a free read weekly, updated.
Okay.
People can go on there, they see that, okay, I like her style, now I'm going to go buy the book.
They can do that with any Kindle book. You can get 10% of every Kindle book as a sample. The first 10%
Yeah.
of every book you can read. If you haven't been able to tell by 10% into, especially this buzzard, whether you're going to like it or not, then I cannot help you.
Yeah.
But I don't have to give my stuff away to give people a good sample of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about ebooks.
what's unfortunate, I think, now is that people are learning how to game the system and using smash words, which does allow
Yeah.
self-pub authors to make things free, and they're gaming the system to get limited time free
On Amazon.
on Amazon, and it's not going to be long before they plug that hole.
I mean, because what she said right there is sample is the name of the game. Because, at least this is my belief, my belief, therefore, disclaimer, 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 may not apply to you in the real world, but I believe it, damn it, so it's true. But I think that sampling is a big deal. I mean, just the same way that for me, music, I used to go buy CDs. I'm dating myself already, aren't I? CDs, cassettes, whatever.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Not dating yourself.
But I mean, I would just buy it because I heard the one song on the radio, or I heard 2 songs on the radio. I got burned too many times by that. And so, yeah, I hear a cool song on the radio, I'll go find the 3 or 4 other YouTube videos or whatever other means to sample that. Notice how I slid past that? That was really good, wasn't it? Well, I mean, yeah. We can hit piracy in a second. But I'll sample it before I go buy the album. Okay, so I mean, there's a Within
Well, hey,
Temptation.
you're really throwing a date out there. Use the A word.
What?
An album.
Album, yeah, I know.
So you shouldn't talk about a 45.
Well, I mean, but that's what I just. I mean, just this week. That's what I did with. I like goth rock stuff. Okay, and the symphonic stuff. There's lots of really crappy, lots of it. That's really, really horrific. But there's some that are really, really good. So I mean, I did exactly that. I heard a song on Pandora. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's go look at the. Find some other videos. Oh, all these on this album sound, here's some other videos from that album, and they all sound really cool. Go over to Amazon, boom, done. And so how you do the samples, whether it be the 10% on Amazon, or maybe even doing short stories in a connected world, that you give the short stories away for free. Like, if you like this, read the novel that this is based on. Whatever. Some way that people can sample your work. One of the things, unless they've changed the contract lately, and please tell me if they have, Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble and Apple say you can't sell it for less elsewhere. Right. Your list price can't be less elsewhere.
Oh, and let me tell you what Google added to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
see,
Google has now added, oh yeah, by the way, we'll discount whatever we want
No, I saw
to
that.
jack up your price.
that's why I didn't.
So if you go on Google Books and you put $4.99 for your book, it's suddenly going to be $3.87, which is going to skew your price at Amazon
Right, no,
and Apple.
that's why mine's not on there, because they did that with the Crimson Back. I set it up as a $5 book, and I got an email from one of the authors the next day. It was like, why is it up for $3.87? And I'm like, what do you mean? No, yank.
What price point do you recommend?
Oh, can we talk about contention? Me personally, and again, I'm,
99 cents is too low.
for a novel, are we talking novel or short?
A collection of short stories.
What's your page count? Who's in it? What's the value?
How many do you want to sell?
Right.
What's your page count? Who's in it? We just released. I'll pick on a case study for my own self. I just drug Janet Morris out of retirement. Sanctuary, Tempest, Heroes in Hell, all that. She hasn't written in 20 years.
Okay.
She's back. Got a shared world anthology in Heroes in Hell. It's almost the size of the 3 of those together. It's going to
It's a troll.
and if you, oh man, that thing will strangle a basset hound.
I'm talking very
and-
small, unknown author.
Well, but just give you a point. I mean, this is a book of massive heavy hitters. Nancy
Yeah.
Ashire's back. C.J. Chera's back. This is not your. We went and pulled 12 friends at the Starbucks and put out a book, and you're looking at a Kindle price of $9.99.
Yeah.
And I'll judge your relative value from there.
There's also math
99 cents.
Yeah.
No, see, I wouldn't say 99 cents, because the other thing you're playing with, and this is my economics background, is you start running into the perception of value. Tobias Buckell did a really good post about this, where his actual profits, his sales went down, but his profits went up when he put a short story. He raised the price on a short story collection. I don't remember offhand, so I'm not going to lie to you and make stuff up.
For a novel-sized book right now, the average that you see out there for a good book, for a name brand book, all the way across, whether it's small, indie, or large press, you're usually looking around $5.
Yeah.
$4.99
And
is
so
just a
novel-
shot in the dark. I mean, is that?
No, I'm seeing that.
That's a little low, I think, but
Again, it's a
Name
value
brand
added.
book,
$9.99
$9.99 is what I'm used to seeing for an author that I know and whose work is.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
it's
just
selling
my
it.
cap, that's what I pay for American Gods, and I won't.
Right,
Well,
that's well known.
$25 for the Aragon Trilogy Omnibus, but
well, yeah, it's a welcome to the marketplace. It's value added.
What about these big publishers now who are saying, we want to see our newest books at $11.99 or $14.99?
Oh,
I
well,
wish
they
they-
can wish in one hand and.
Yeah.
Is that but I mean, are they actually selling it? Are they
Yes.
getting those prices?
I hope.
Pat
I
Rothfuss
wish
is
New
in the top
York
10 on
every
Amazon.
possible good decision like that they make.
Yeah.
Pat
I
Rothfuss
really
is
do.
making and selling a ton of copies at $14.99, but he's Pat Rothfuss, and
Right.
none of
Yeah.
us are.
Exactly, and not to
Well,
mention
his
the
print
fact
books aren't cheap either. That's,
and his print books are freaking
But
huge.
Yeah.
It's
The other
1,000
thing to keep
pages.
in mind with pricing is the tiered royalty structure that Amazon
Right.
puts in place.
So,
From 99 cents to $2.98, the author gets 35%.
Right. So for a
Right.
collection, I would not put it under that. I would put it, say, at the $2.99. For a collection of stuff, maybe shorter than novel length, depending on how certain you are of it. You know, I also think $5 is the median. I see a lot of new paperback releases, even from the big publishers. And stuff that would be straight to paperback is somewhere in the 7-8 range. So it's on the far end of that standard distribution.
If you price over $9.99, you drop back to that 35% mark.
Right.
And then if you're between $2.99 and $9.99, it's a 70% royalty for self-published authors.
And the reason I like $5 is I can go. The number of times that I've looked at somebody and they'll be like, "Oh, it looks interesting." I'm like, "Yeah, it's just $5." Oh, done.
Not me.
Really? Maybe I'm a better salesman.
And this whole 99-cent backlash thing is pretty new, and it's I'm seeing it among a small subset of consumers.
Yeah.
With the-
The backlash against, I won't buy a book at 99 cents.
And
It's a small subset of people who buy a lot of books, read a lot.
I would say I don't buy things at 99 cents. I don't buy full-length novels. I will still buy short stories and novellas
Right.
at 99 cents. But when everybody was talking about how the math works out with their royalties, what I was reading from that is that, okay, you're not caring about me as a reader. You want me to be a sale, and you don't care what I do with the book.
Yeah.
Well, I should say, I'm not going to call them writers, I will say book producers.
Yeah.
Because there's a, all right, one thing I'll throw in kind of one quick word here on my own rant. One thing about the publishing business that has not changed since Benjamin Franklin introduced us to some guy named Poor Richard, it is going to come down to content. As a
Yeah.
writer, the number one thing you have is not your publisher, it's not your agent, it's not whoever, it is your name. And you want to look at some fabulous Elvin books, they're on the table. You know, you're putting your 20 years on the line every single time. Well, and seriously, as a
Yeah.
writer, there are a lot of people like, oh well, the editors fix that or they do this, and that. And it's kind of, guys, really, when it's, I like the fact you were sending back to the writer for that last time, because if I'm your editor, my name's not on that book.
Yeah, the author has final say,
Yeah.
period.
It's and no matter how much trash comes out in POD or self-publish, or how much trash shows up in ebook, conventions, your name, and word of mouth is always going to be your best friend if you really are concerned as a writer about what you're producing.
And your editor will fix it, but your editor will
Be pissed.
your editor will fix it. Also,
Your editor will want a lot of alcohol out of you.
alcohol, nothing, money.
Money.
The more I have to fix of yours, the more
Well,
it
yeah,
costs
because
you.
it's also moving you up to being more than just an editor. You're becoming a book doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's very different.
All right, we need to wrap up, unfortunately. So, like I said, one thing we'll save the piracy stuff for later. You can come talk, it'll be fun. We'll argue, we'll put on boxing
Free
gloves.
if you know where to go.
Anyway,
I know.
I always try to mention this at least once in every panel. Yogg's Law, money flows toward the author. If you pay somebody, know what you're getting out of it. Don't pay more than it's worth. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I will answer to the best of my ability, whether you're paying me or not. Questions are free, work is not. But yeah, I tried, again, I play Paladins, I'm an author first. I'm a publisher a far second. And so I do the publishing to try to say if a schmuck like me can do it, why are you getting ripped off by somebody else? So, anyway, money flows towards you. Yeah, applaud that, you're right. You want that. Nobody buys a book with blank pages.
Amen to that.
Yep. Any other last thoughts before we run out the door?
Buy our books, we're all downstairs sweating.
Buy books.
Buy books.
Buy books.
I'm just gonna say, price is never, other than a book being too expensive, price of an ebook has never convinced me to buy or not to buy a book. What convinced me was the reviews, the
Yeah.
sample, the ranking. You can look and tell a piece of slime from a decent book, probably even before you sample it, certainly afterwards. So price is not gonna convince me to buy or not to buy. It's the quality of what the price is on that gets me. Gets it into my Kindle or
It's
not.
going to be the value.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Thank you all for showing up. Thanks for your time.